Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, folks. This is Critic Box, and I am your host, Ben Walsh. Apologies for the little bit of a hiatus there. I lost my dog, Baxter, but we found him, we're good to go, and we have our next movie up to bat. This week's episode, we are going to take a look at Knock at the Cabin, directed by the one and only M. Night Shyamalan, and starring WWE wrestler, or former WWE wrestler, now actor, Dave Bautista. We also have Ron Weasley and Eric Bana's doppelganger. Knock at the Cabin is about a same-sex couple and their adopted daughter on their vacation at a remote cabin in the woods. They are interrupted by a group of 4 strangers claiming that the end of the world is near via 4 deadly plagues or catastrophes. They claim that the only way for this apocalypse to be avoided is if one of the family members sacrifices another member of the family. Each time they say no, one of the 4 catastrophes is unleashed onto mankind. The movie really takes off from there, and we are taken along for the ride while the parents figure out how to maneuver around this impossible decision they have been told to make. The tale of this tape is really all about M. Night Shyamalan as he is taking another kick at the can to bring himself up out of this seemingly never-ending slump he has found himself in since the early 2000s. I can't help but to compare the career of M. Night Shyamalan to that of an aging sports athlete. He exploded onto the scene in his rookie year with Sixth Sense. We had a Best Picture nomination, a Best Director nomination, and a Best Screenplay nomination. And then he follows up in his sophomore year with an absolutely unique and refreshing take on the superhero genre with Unbreakable. He's now found his Scottie Pippen in Bruce Willis, and in 2002 he releases arguably one of the greatest and most iconic modern-day sci-fi thrillers of all time in Signs. Although in this one, he did turn to Mel Gibson for the lead role, which almost seems like MJ went to the Suns to play with Charles Barkley. But even so, in his first 5 years, M. Night Shyamalan was already a solidified Hall of Famer. Finally, in 2004, he blows audiences away once again with The Village, and although not as successful as its predecessors, it was truly story writing genius. But from there, M. Night really had a lot of setbacks. Perhaps an ACL tear requiring off-season surgery, he might have started a family, had to fire his agent, maybe he was hitting 30 years old. I don't know, but he lost his way. He gave us forgettable flops like The Lady in the Water and The Happening, sci-fi, Pies in the Sky, The Last Airbender, and After Earth, and head-scratching psychological thrillers in Glass and Old. Though in between those we had The Visit and Split, which I rather enjoyed, but those only truly provided inklings of M. Night's former brilliance. So, looking back at his career thus far, we now turn to his latest release, and the question is, can Mr. Shyamalan pull himself up out of this funk and bring crowds back to their feet? Or is it just another disappointing outing for the once untouchable writer-director? Let's find out and see what the world's top critics have had to say about Knock at the Cabin. First up, we have a bad review from world-renowned critic Mark Kermode.
I am increasingly a big fan of Dave Bautista, and he does the gentle Hulk thing really well. I mean, he is the size of a mountain, and yet the whole thing is he's a teacher, and he's very kind of reasonable, and he wants to not scare them. The rest of the cast are very committed.
Dave Bautista is truly the only bright spot in this film. He already commands an amazing presence with his physical stature, but he has yet to be, in my opinion, successfully utilized in any of his roles so far. We did see him in Guardians of the Galaxy as Drax, and he had absolutely gut-busting humor. And his opening role in Blade Runner 2049 was vital to setting the stage in the movie, and he was absolutely haunting, but that was just a quick hit. I wanted to see him placed in a character that forces his abilities to be drawn out, bring out those protective walls of a comedic relief or an action superhero or even a small screen time. Let's bring those walls down and really put his acting under a microscope. And ladies and gentlemen, you got it here. Dave's character, Leonard, has a lot of interaction, more often than not driven by emotional conflicting circumstances. With his big physical presence, as we said, he already commands attention from the audiences, but his ability to present a gentle giant in a seemingly hostile situation, man, it really steals the show here. Let's see what else Mark has to say.
Skirting spoilers.
Yeah. Well done, incidentally.
Did you sense any a degree of ambiguity to the mission? Like, did you think the mission actually was
No.
true?
I didn't see any ambiguity. I thought the only ambiguity was, are they crazy or is this happening?
That's the thing. And Mark Kermode says here it's the ambiguity, but I like to call it the M. Night Shyamalan twist. You're going into this movie anticipating that there's going to be some sort of big reveal or surprise, but there wasn't any of that. You had option 1 or you had option 2, and one of them in this movie ultimately plays out. So it looks like Mark Kermode didn't enjoy this movie. As I said before, it's a bad review. So we are going to move over to a good review, and this comes from Tyrone Magnus. Let's see what he has to say.
I will tell you that many of you will probably say that this is woke, but I'm telling you, it's a great movie. I had a good time watching this movie.
So I'm not sure if there is a defined set of criteria for a movie or anything really in life to be woked, but I personally didn't get any woke vibes from it. A same-sex marriage with an adopted child is very relevant today, and the characters were written and played as such that it wasn't really in your face with any certain type of agenda. So let's see what else he has to say.
Yeah, I'm telling you, listen, the movie is dark, it's morbid, it's scary. It's like, oh my God, you sitting there thinking to yourself, like, what if this really happened? Oh my God. It's not gory, but suggestion lends that to your mind when certain things and sounds are happening off screen.
Yeah, it was some of those things for sure. It was dark, morbid, but I wouldn't call it scary. A lot of it was not believable enough for audiences to say that question or ask that question, what if, that M. Night in his previous, early 2000s movies forced us to ask. I don't know if Tyrone smoked a Fat J before, but he just seems almost too astounded by this movie for me to even agree with him in this facts. It really wasn't what Tyrone is saying it is here. So hey, I could be wrong, but yeah, let's move on. Let's see what else he has to say.
Other than this movie being a little slow at times, I'm gonna give this movie a 4 out of 5 woos. I would recommend that you see it. Even if you don't like woke stuff, it's worth it.
All right, so there you have it. Obviously, some folks loved this movie. They thought it was the best thing since sliced bread, based on the shock and awe factor and the big what ifs it presents. And that's good. Some people got their fill, and that's great to see. So we've had the good reviews, we've had the bad reviews, and now it's time to let you people know if this movie is worth your time. And after looking at both sides of the coin, I have to say I cannot recommend this movie solely based on the fact that it is what you see is what you get in that trailer. I think if you saw the trailer, there really isn't any need for you to go spend your hard-earned money and precious time to see this movie. M. Night's secret sauce has always been the art of the twist, leading audiences down a solidified path, marked out by a big red carpet, and then he slips that rug right under your feet. But once again, we didn't get that. The cinematography wasn't bad, the characters were made with some good thought, but there really wasn't any magic in there for a simplistic and a static setting like a cabin to be something where you're leaving the theater in utter shock and amazement. I remember leaving the village, and the producers are going to laugh at me here because we had some conflicting thoughts about this movie, but I remember leaving the village absolutely stunned, walking out the theater besides absolute strangers, having these look on our faces like, what the hell just happened? And speechless. None of that here, folks. And every time I see an M. Night Shyamalan movie, I am stoked and excited to perhaps, have that feeling I had when I had as a kid seeing an M. Night Shyamalan movie. But again, not this week's, folks. I guess I will keep waiting. So that's it for this week's episode, ladies and gentlemen. If you'd be so kind, please leave a comment. Let's see what you have to say about A Knock at the Cabin and perhaps your overall thoughts about the career of M. Night Shyamalan. Other than that, take care, be kind, and have a nice day.